Hello everyone, welcome to Contentment Guide Astrology. I'm Michelle and I'm so happy to be here today to talk about the new moon in Taurus. This is either on the 7th or 8th of May, depending where you are in the world. For me, it's kind of like early in the morning of the 8th of May. So this new moon still very much carries that energy of the conjunction we had a few weeks ago between Uranus and Jupiter. So the new moon is at 18 degrees of Taurus, and this is only three degrees away from the Uranus-Jupiter conjunction. And in my Uranus-Jupiter video, I explained that that was a real seeding point for a new 14-year cycle. So a whole new cycle has started in the Taurus part of your chart. So you can use free resources online like astroseek.com to find out where Taurus falls in your chart and which house topics it relates to. So, wow, I mean, this is really exciting. People have been talking about Uranus Jupiter for a while, and a new seed point like Uranus Jupiter that brings change and expansion, I think, is always welcome in each individual life. So the fact that this new moon is happening so close to that point, it still taps into that same energy. And there is a whole stellium of planets at the moment in Taurus still. So we have, at this new moon, we have the sun and the moon at 18 degrees of Taurus. Then Uranus has moved on slightly. It's at 22 degrees of Taurus, and Jupiter at 25 degrees of Taurus. And we also now have the ruler of Taurus, which is Venus, also in Taurus at 10 degrees. So this is also something special because a new moon where the ruler is present makes everything so much more relaxed and open. It's like, when even if you've been on a really nice holiday, there's nothing like walking into your own house, sitting on your own couch, sleeping in your own bed. And this is what it feels like for Venus right now. She's back in her own house, she can relax, and she can be her best self. So Venus is obviously bringing all those energies to this new moon as well. But there is something that we need to take into account, because in classical astrology there is such a thing as called under the beams, where there is very vast evidence for. And so traditionally, when a planet is somewhere between 15 to 10 to 8 degrees away from the sun, it starts to disappear from a view of the naked eye. And so Venus is obviously 8 degrees away from the sun at the moment, and she is not visible. So this also affects this new moon in the kind of like the same way that the seed was planted with Uranus Jupiter might take some time to germinate, and Venus being the ruler of this new moon and being invisible at this time also means that what happens behind the scenes is happening. The seed of this new moon is planted, but because Venus is currently invisible, it's going to take some time for the seed to germinate and whatever we've planted at this time to kind of start growing and become visible to us. So Venus only really becomes completely visible again by mid-August of 2024. So I know that we can be really in a hurry for seeds to be planted to grow. But bear in mind, sometimes when things take a little bit more time, we have a lot more grounding and stability in what is happening. So yes, exercise some patience, because the seeds that are planted are going to take some time to grow, but grow they will. So we just need to be patient. So the cazimi of Venus and the Sun, which is just a fancy word for the conjunction of Venus with the Sun, will happen on the 4th of June at 15 degrees of Gemini. So a cazimi means at the heart, and that means that when Venus is at the exact degree of the Sun, on the 4th of June, she is literally being reborn. So from this new moon on the 8th of May until the 4th of June, or shall I say by the 4th of June, when Venus, the ruler of this new moon, is being reborn, that is definitely when you're going to start seeing the seeds of what was planted growing by the 4th of June. And then, like I said, by mid-August, there's going to be definite visibility of what is coming to light next. So the favorable thing that happens with this new moon is actually a sextile between Saturn and the new moon. And Saturn at its best, when it's bringing good qualities to us, it can bring a lot of stability and grounding and wisdom around our timekeeping, and also wisdom around boundaries and saying no to things. And I feel that somehow a part of this new moon is related to everything that has transpired between the eclipse and the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. So much has transpired, and a lot of those things would have pointed to certain things that we need to let go of now in order to move forward. And Saturn is definitely there to help us to find a way to just almost consolidate consolidate our energies, really see where we need to focus on next, and placing our energy and our mind in the right direction, instead of maybe having too many things on our plate or focusing maybe on the wrong things. This energy of Saturn is definitely going to help to really help us say no to what needs to be let go of. So there is also very closely after the new moon, Jupiter is also moving into a sextile with Neptune. And this can be a very spiritually expansive transit. Jupiter bringing order and expansion to certain parts of the chart, and Neptune being that higher spirituality and expansion. So that's going to help us even further to really see the way forward in a very expansive way, in a bigger way than maybe we could have seen before. So even though it might have been a bit frustrating that things have been unfolding quite slowly, the steadfastness and the expansiveness of what has been happening has definitely contributed to things unfolding in a very certain way. So This is a very powerful new moon in terms of Venus being in the house that it rules. It almost feels also a little bit like an eclipse because it's so close to the point where Jupiter and Uranus met, and it's still so close to where Uranus currently is. Um, so sudden changes and sudden insights can happen, and seeing new things in a totally new light and new things appearing in our lives. And yet, with Venus not being visible, like I said, the seed planted can take some time to germinate. So, I wish you the absolute most beautiful new moon. And as usual, I'm also going to share my Ching reading and tarot cards for this new moon. So I threw the coins for the Ching, and I received a hexagram 60, which changes into hexagram 27. And it's interesting because the hexagram 60 definitely relates to what I just said about Saturn helping us to maybe eliminate some things that we don't need going forward. So hexagram 60 says, think, discuss, and make things clear. Separate and distinguish things. But the very important thing at this time is to do this with compassion and kindness. Whoever or whatever we're letting go of right now in order to move forward, we need to bring compassion and kindness into that process. Think before taking action. Solve challenges from a different perspective by asking for guidance to see things in a new light. Be open to new ideas. A wise man limits his loyalties and his interests in order to be efficient. By setting boundaries, you actually create freedom. How we leave behind what we need to let go of really matters at this time. I think this is beautiful. It really speaks to Venus being involved, doing things with compassion and kindness. It really speaks to Saturn being involved in a sextile to help us to eliminate what we don't need anymore. And then through the changing lines, the hexagram changes into hexagram 27, which is nourishment and taking in what has happened. Take in and create new nourishment. Think about exchange, how you give and how you receive. Nourish yourself first so that you may also nourish others. I think this is beautiful. I think this really is teaching us and giving us guidance that the importance of nourishment in terms of moving forward, and nourishment in terms of many different things. Eating in the way that our body needs. Nourishment is anything we take in. It's what we watch, it's what we listen to, it's the conversations we choose to have with others. Everything nourishes either your physical, emotional, or spiritual self. So I think this is beautiful to learn to really nourish yourself in order that you may nourish others. And then I also drew some cards. Two cards came out. Firstly, it was the Queen of Cups. And you can see she is sitting there on her chair, very securely on the land, and she is surrounded by water. So she is grounded, but she is very in touch with the water and her emotions. She's very in touch with her compassion, and yet she is sitting, she is steady, she's looking at the cup, and she is contemplating and working with her own wisdom. So the words that I got for the Queen of Cups is compassion, she's caring, there's stability, she's intuitive, and she's in the flow because she is so surrounded by the water and in touch with her own emotions. And then it's almost like the second card relates a bit to the nourishment bit, the Ten of Pentacles, because the Ten of Pentacles is traditionally quite related with material wealth. But I think in terms of what I just said, with the nourishment, in terms of the Ching, it can also be related to all kinds of security, and also the fact that you see all different kinds of people and even animals in this card. It really speaks to nourishing the self in order to nourish others as well. And with the Ten of Pentacles, the words are security, contribution, sharing, and success in many different ways. So these are lovely energies. I really enjoy bringing the cards into the story as well, because I think they just add a very succinct element to bring all the other things together. I thank you for being here again, and if you get any value from this, please like, please comment. I love to hear how this has helped you or how the new moon is affecting you in your life. Please share, please subscribe, hit the like button. It helps my channel to grow, and I will be back very soon.